Inside the box, we get some gloves to keep those fingerprints off of the glossy finish, 4 carpet sliders, the power cord, accessories pouch, which includes the calibration mic and the calibration cable. And here is the very thick owner's manual, probably the biggest owner's manual I've seen for a subwoofer yet. So you guys can see that this comes in a really nice packaging. It also comes with this nice heavy-duty cloth bag to protect that glossy black finish. It does only have a 12-inch driver behind this removable grill. The grills do attach via the little pins here on all 4 corners, so this is not magnetic, but it does feel pretty robust. It is made out of plastic and is pretty thick. So this does have a 12-inch driver. This is, if you are in the car audio world, I mean, these were pretty popular when I was in high school. I think it was like the W7 something or another, but this is the W12 driver, I believe, and this is rated down to 19 to 149 hertz, frequency response wise. So this should go pretty deep for such a small subwoofer, and size-wise, this does measure 18 inches in height by 15 inches in width by about 17 inches in depth. I'll put the exact measurements on screen. It weighs about 117 pounds. Have the little carpet sliders that come inside the packaging, so this way you can just slide the thing around. Now this does have a pretty beefy foam surround on it, and the only thing that leaves me a little bit of pause with this is that I know with foam surrounds, at least with the car subwoofers that I've had in the past, is that these can and will tend to dry rot over age. So that's the only thing that I would be worried about in the long run with this subwoofer, because I'm almost positive that this will dry rot at some point in time. So if you've had some experience with this subwoofer after a long period of time, I'm curious to see, or I'm curious to know what your experience is with the foam on the JL Fathom subs. And I would say this is one of the best finishes that I've ever seen on any subwoofer. This has very minimal, if any, orange peel effect. So this is just a really nice high gloss, high sheen finish. So top of the line, which, you know, with the cost of the subwoofer, you would expect this to be best of the best. Now, if we just take a look up front here, we do have some controls. We have the power switch, which is your off, on, and then auto. We have the calibration mic input. We have the demo, defeat, and then the calibrate button. This will show your input mode. There's master and then slave. Right now, this is on master. And then for level, we have reference or variable. So if you want to control this using an external volume control, such as your preamp processor, you can put it on a reference, or if you want to put it on variable, you can use the volume level, which is this guy here, which is variable. The lights, you can turn them off, which is that little guy there. This is dim, and then you can always just keep this on. So if you have it on auto, it'll shut off, and then that light will shut off. Low pass filter, we have off 12 dB or 24 dB slopes. I have it on off, and I'm using the crossover from the preamp. And then we have your low pass filter, which is variable from 30 to 130 hertz. Then the ELF is the extreme low frequency filter, which will give you a boost from a -12 up to a +3 dB at 28 hertz. So if you want to get that little bit of boost at 28 hertz, you can adjust the ELF trim right there. Then we have a variable phase from 45 to 270 degrees, and then polarity from 0 or 180 degrees. So it's either or, the polarity is not variable. And of course, if you want to cover all this up, just put the grill on it. But let's go ahead and swing this thing around, and we can see that this has a very beefy amplifier on the back of it. These huge heat sinks on here. There's a huge toroidal transformer in the back as well. This is rated at 1800 watts peak. As far as connections in the back, we have your main power plug inlet right there. We have your slave or master switch. So if you want to daisy chain this, let's say this is the master, on the second subwoofer, which I have on the other side, you can set that up as the slave. We have grounded or isolated, depending on how your outlets are fixated in your house. We have the XLR balanced output, which you can daisy chain over to the other subwoofer. Then we have your unbalanced inputs, aka RCA ins left and right, and then balance left and right inputs as well. So right now I do have this set up as the right subwoofer, and the other subwoofer, I have it set up as the left subwoofer. That's why I have this going into the right only input. So how I have this set up, again, I have this set up with the Martin Logan ESL-X's. As some of you guys know, these ESL-X's are kind of bass limited, so not too much output down low, so they really will benefit from having subwoofers. So I have each of the subwoofers paired up with each speaker for stereo bass. And if you are going to use the DARO system, DARO, which is their digital auto room optimizer, which is their auto room calibration, the calibration will calibrate a single sub or all subs as a mono sum signal. So if you want to say I plug the microphone into this and I daisy this, so I set this up as the master and the second one as the slave, the auto calibration will EQ each sub, it'll equalize them as just a single mono signal. So keep that in mind. So how I have this set up, I have this going into the Lingdorf TDAI 3400, and then I have the pre-outs on this as left and right pre-outs for each subwoofer. So each one is getting their own signal, so that way each speaker is running as full range. So right now I'm just testing this out in my living room setup, which is my 2-channel setup. So for the full review for these subwoofers in my home theater, again, that's going over to Audioholics' channel. But just on first impressions here, I did spend a couple of days with it, and the only subwoofer that I have to compare the single F112 V2 with is going to be the ELAC 12-inch subwoofer, which I reviewed a few weeks back now. What is it? I think it's the DS1200. That subwoofer has dual pose drivers, and then the JL obviously has a single 12-inch driver. And it's also about twice the cost of the ELAC. But I will say for the cost of the ELAC, it's pretty close to the JL. For such a small 12-inch subwoofer, as you guys would expect, it's a tall little subwoofer. I mean, this subwoofer's been out for almost a decade now, maybe a little bit longer if we're talking about the V1 version. So maybe like something like 20 years. So you know what they say, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. But this just melts away and blends perfectly with the Martin Logans, which really do need some low frequency support because the ESL-X's just don't have any bass response down low. And just coming off from watching Tron Ares, I had to throw on the Tron Legacy soundtrack, which, if you ever heard it before, it's got some of the deepest hard-hitting bass that I've heard in a movie soundtrack or just music in general, and it's from Daft Punk. So there's that one song from the arena, and I believe the next track is called The Game Has Changed. Dips down really low towards the end of the song, it picks up, and you just get those really hard-hitting back-to-back hits that's just like boom, 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 boom. And it's got my shades rattling, my closet door is rattling, my front door is rattling. So these things absolutely slam. Another thing that I threw on was Poem of a Chinese Drum by, I believe it's Yim Hawk Man. And every time you can hear the drum strikes, it's just like really snap. The attack is really aggressive. It hits, it punches, and then it just kind of just lingers just a little bit after every drum strike. It's just like bong. You can just hear it just a little bit linger. It doesn't stay its course too long. It's just pop, 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 and just goes. So as far as just attack and then decay, this is spot on. These are just as good as any recent subwoofer that I've heard in the past couple of years. Again, these things have been out for almost a decade now. I would have figured maybe they would have come out with like a different design, maybe something with a more advanced DSP, I don't know. But as is, I would say this still hangs with subwoofers like the Perlisten, with the KEF KC92, the more affordable ELAC. So, I mean, this is still top tier performance from these subwoofers. I don't know how it's going to hang in home theater. We're going to check that out in the other review for Audioholics, so stay tuned for that. But I did take a couple of measurements in my room here. Now, the only change that I made with the subwoofers is that I adjusted the phase so that it matched up well with the Martin Logans. And then I set the crossover at maximum at 150 hertz. So I wanted to see how loud these things could play and how aggressive they'll play at its highest peak. And then, of course, we'll see how low this will drop. And as you can see from the measurements here, it does start dropping off at about 20 hertz. I do have a bit of a dip here at about 84 hertz, and this is with just the manual adjustments that I did with the subwoofers themselves. So this is without using the DARO room correction. Now with room correction, you can see that I am getting a substantial boost on the low end. So I'm getting response down to like 10 hertz before it starts dropping off. So I am getting about a 10 hertz boost. So I am getting a boost down low, and then you can see here that dip at 84 hertz is now kind of filled in. And then here I'm getting a little one here at 58 hertz. But for the most part, it looks pretty decent with just using the room correction built into the subwoofers themselves. Now the preamp processor I'm using is the Lingdorf 3400. That does have room perfect, which I could dial in to get even better response, I'm sure. But if you are not using anything with room correction built into the processor or receiver, then this is kind of what you can expect, or what I got in my room. Obviously, you have a different room, I've got a different room, so your results will vary. But as is, this does dig low in this room, and it is very tactile, and the attack is just really aggressive. Now, of course, these things are $5,500 a piece. Right now in this price category, there is a lot of competition out there. You know, I named the Perlisten sub, I think it's the D12, same price. I know it's got one of the best amplifiers on the market right now. I've used some of their bigger models, and it's top tier. I don't know how many subwoofers sound better than that for the fit and finish and the features. This one here, not quite as advanced in its DSP, but sound quality wise, I think it hangs just as well. If you want to go a little bit lower, half the price point, KEF KC92 dual 9-inch opposed subwoofers. I think that's something like $2,000 or $2,400. You can get two of them for the price of one of these guys. Probably won't play as loud, but I think with my time with it, I did get some really good extension down low into the infrasonics. I believe it's lower than what I'm getting in here. Fit and finish not quite as good, but the DSP capabilities and the features, I think it's more feature packed than the JLs. But if you want something that looks the part, is going to look good with your high-end speakers, I'm assuming you have high-end speakers if you're looking at these subwoofers. These, I don't think there's too many subwoofers that look as good as these JLs. Anyways, those are just my quick thoughts on these subwoofers. If you want to go for the full review on how these perform for home theater, check out my video that's coming up for Audioholics. So subscribe over there. Leave your thoughts down below in this video's description. Have you ever heard these subwoofers, and how do you think they perform against other subwoofers in this price category? Leave your thoughts down below. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.